Does anyone know what 1 Corinthians 10 verse 31 says? It says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. See, as children of God, we are called to honor the Lord in all that we do. So this question rings true today. Is how you handle your phone bringing honor to God? Is how you handle your phone bringing honor to God? Today, I want to just share from some of my own personal thoughts as well as some biblical foundations, biblical truths that we can all apply to how we use our phones. For those of you who don't have phones yet, I want to encourage you, listen up, because you can avoid some of the traps that we have been through. So, point number 1, say it with me, finding true connection. Say it again, finding true connection. Here are some statistics on connection. 11 to 12% of people meet with family or friends each day in person. That number is 28 to 29 that they connect with through phones. That would be text messages, calls, social media, the likes. Then, 10% of people say that they have no one to rely on. And 8% of those have no close friends. 8% total say they have no close friends. Frequent social media users are actually more lonely. And about 1 in 4 people globally report feeling lonely. Younger people, younger generations are lonelier than older generations, yet we're spending increased time on our phones. But this is resulting in decreased real-life social interactions. And the average person sends between 50 to 100 plus messages a day, and they interact with 300 to 1,000 people each day through their phones. But yet, this generation is lonelier than previous generations. About a quarter are feeling lonely. People are so connected, yet so lonely. The more we pursue the way the world does things, the more we lose our ability to truly connect with one another face to face. So what does the Bible have to say about finding true connection? It's actually quite funny to see how relevant the Bible is, yet there were no phones. Here's an interesting scripture. 2 John chapter 1 verse 12. I have so much to write to you, but I do not want to use paper and pen, paper and ink. Instead, I hope to visit you and talk with you face to face so that our joy may be complete. So here's John, 2,000 years ago. He's like, yo, bro, I know I can WhatsApp you, but I got so much to tell you. I don't want to just write it down. I want to come to you face to face and tell you about this. Visiting and talking was a valued thing back then. In Hebrews 10, verse 24, it says, and let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together. See, we need to not give up this kind of thing, where we come together, where we meet. And that's why COVID was quite tough, because we were forced into isolation. And isolation brings a lot of devastation and desolation, I'd say. But well done on being at youth. Youth is already a step in a biblical direction of meeting together. So coming to youth is biblical. You can tell your parents if they say, no, I don't want to come. You can obviously respect them first and foremost, but you can tell them it's biblical, especially if you come for the right reasons. Then Acts 2, verse 46. Every day they continued. They met together in the temple. They broke bread in their homes, and they ate together with glad and sincere hearts. See, we as a society need more than just WhatsApps back and forth. We need more than just Omegle video chats. We need more. We need to experience and be with human contact, Connection needs to be done. Connection needs to be done in person. It has its place over the phone, and I know this because my brother, he lives in America. He's lived there for 3 years now, and I'm so grateful to be able to video call him. or WhatsApp him and get messages and phone calls and stuff, it's a blessing. And I'm not saying a no to that. But we need to ensure that we find our connection in what truly matters. Outside of our phones, outside of the number of followers we have on Instagram, or the number of likes, or whatever, how TikTok works, however many followers or views you have on TikTok. Speaking of Instagram and TikTok, that brings me to my next point. Can anyone think what the next point title would be? I heard it. Doom scrolling. You guys love this word. It's so up and coming. Can I please get a cup of water, alsjeblieft? Half warm, half cold, please. Yeah, it's weird, but it helps my throat. Doom scrolling. Can anybody define doom scrolling? Shout it. Okay, Jaden, go. Go. It is when you're just scrolling through any social media. So it's like just scrolling through any social media platform. My man, what's the definition? Scrolling through any type of social media non-stop. I would love to agree with you, but thank you so much. The definition of doom scrolling is actually not that. The definition of doom scrolling is the following: the action of continually scrolling and reading depressing or worrying content on social media or a news site, especially on the phone. I didn't know that, but doom scrolling is actually to do with like doom and gloom content that you're scrolling through, not just mindlessly brain rot scrolling that we do. That term is called dopamine scrolling. Aha! It is, okay, this is a definition of dopamine scrolling. The habit or compulsive act of scrolling through social media feeds, particularly short-form videos, to receive rapid, small, and unpredictable doses of dopamine. Who of you have doom scrolled recently? Dopamine scrolled recently. Yeah, that's what we do. We dopamine scroll. So, for the sake of this, we're going to call it doom scrolling. But just so you know, there is actually a difference. Doom scrolling is negative. Negative content. Dopamine is just any content. So what we do is actually dopamine scrolling, but we'll call it doom scrolling for the sake of today. Screen time. 41% of teens spend 8 or more hours a day on a screen. Most of which spend 5 of those hours on social media alone. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So how much of our lives will be left? That's what I want to figure out today. This is how many days you have left to live. 25,550 statistical average days left to live, everybody. Now, this is based upon if you're 15, which was the average age of you last week, and you live to 85, which means you've got 70 years left to live. So you got 25,000 days left, but you sleep for about 8 hours, average, all right, over your lifetime. You eat for about 1 hour across the 3 meals. You have about 45 minutes of cleaning and getting ready each day, and you have about 1 hour statistical average of transit each day. So 25,000 days drops down to a measly 14,235 days left to live. That's 11,315 that's spent elsewhere on things that need to get done, like sleeping and eating and driving and stuff like that. So you've got these 14,000 days to live. That is 39 years. You got 39 years to make it count, all you 15-year-olds. And that excludes work, which takes 8.5 hours a day for 5 days a week. That excludes school and college and studying. That's all into that 39. Now, what if we took your screen time and figured out how much is left after that? This is a fun one. I like math. So, who of you have about 3 hours of screen time per day? I'm in that category. That's about me there. So, If you can shusha, asseblief. If you have 3 hours a day, that results in 8 years, 8.75 years of your life will be spent looking at a phone. Of your usable life left, that's 22.4%. So that's basically a quarter, just under a quarter of your life that's left is spent on a phone. Now, for all my 5-hour screen time people, come on, use 5 hours. Yeah, okay. So, you got 14 and a half years of scrolling and screen time ahead of you. That is 37% of what you have left to live. Okay? 8 hours. Who's there? Anybody at 8 hours? Yo. Let me just show you what's left here. Okay? Shh, please. You got to focus here. The numbers got to speak. 23 years of your life will be spent scrolling or looking at social media. That is 60%, call it, of what you have left. 59.8%. And then, you don't have to raise your hand. But if you scroll for 11 hours a day, if you're on your phone for 11 hours a day, you are looking at spending more than a life sentence at your phone. 32 years. And that is 82% of your usable life is spent on a phone. Now, these numbers, Huskies, these numbers are pretty radical, all right? If you actually look at that and you're like, yo. I mean, the reality is I'm going to spend about 8, because I'm in the 3 hour, 9 years on my phone. That's crazy. That's 4 years. That's 24-hour days. That's a lot of time. Our phones take up a lot of time. Imagine the generation we would be if we spent that time with God. Yo, just saying. But here are some scriptures that can tell us what to do with our time. Psalm 90 verse 12 says, teach us that our days are numbered, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Ephesians 5 verse 15 to 16 says, be very careful then how you live, not as the unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. And Colossians 4 verse 5b says, use your time in the best way you can. Is spending all this time on our phones the best? Is it making the most of every opportunity? Is it us being wise because our days are numbered? Dopamine. Dopamine. We've heard of this quite a lot. We've had a lady come share about it. But each video you watch releases some sort amount of dopamine, up to double the amount what's supposed to be in your head. So videos create dopamine, all right? Now, cocaine, who of you just love cocaine? Don't raise your hand. Cocaine quadruples the amount for a sustained period, and if it's 4 times the amount cocaine, video is 1 times potentially. 4 videos could Michael math equal cocaine. But too much dopamine is bad. We know that, all right? We also know that cocaine equals lots of dopamine, all right? Then we know scrolling video equals lots of dopamine too. And so therefore, scrolling video equals cocaine. And therefore, scrolling too much video equals bad. All right? It's bad. It is, however, clinically proven that 1 hour of dopamine scrolling is equivalent to 1 line of cocaine being snorted. It is serious, serious stuff that we're talking. This is a scan of someone's brain. Red resembles good activity. Red resembles good activity within the brain. And then obviously as it goes darker and darker all the way to that dark blue, there's no activity or very minimal. That's what brain rot, dopamine scrolling does to us. So it's a serious, serious thing. 1 Corinthians 6 verse 19 to 20 says, "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, whom is in you, you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price, and therefore honor God with your bodies." Are you honoring God with your bodies? Do you remember that first scripture we started with? It was 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whatever you do, eat or drink, honor God. So is how you're treating your body through what you're doing on your phone, honoring God through that dopamine that is way too much. Then sleep. We all know how it affects our sleep. Here's an extract I got from a research article on the effects of doom scrolling. It says sleep disruptions are caused from scrolling. We know that watching social media videos before bed isn't ideal, as it not only affects your sleep, but can also affect your hippocampus. Your brain center for maintaining memory and learning. Disruptions here make it hard to store new information, studying for exams, recalling details, and processing complex ideas, math. Over time, this can diminish mental clarity, leaving you groggy in the morning and less sharp throughout the day. Who of you have felt groggy in the morning and less sharp throughout the day? Perhaps it's all our time we're spending on social media. Psalm 127 verse 2 tells us, "In vain you rise and stay up late, toiling for food to eat." Here it is. "For he grants sleep to those he loves." Sleep is a gift from God. How are you treating that gift that God has given you? Are you purposely setting yourself up to not be able to enjoy the fruit of sleep? And then, even what I would argue is more important than the dopamine is the emotion. Now, can someone tell me, it's a wild guess, I guarantee you'll never get it. What causes something to go viral? Emotions! Yes! So, emotions. At its core, virality is driven by intense human emotion. Viral content evokes emotion. Most of the time, we are scrolling through viral content. To some degree, viral content. We all seem to watch the same videos. Unless you get that random video of that little kid with that low quality video and he's there dancing, he's got 2 likes and you feel bad for the guy but you just keep scrolling. Okay? Most of the time, we watch lots of viral content. And in short, my man's loving his viral content over there. In short, we're scrolling not just through viral content, but because viral content evokes emotion, we're scrolling through emotions. Now, you go there and you got joy. You see some guy doing a backflip on a trampoline, you think that's so cool. Next one, you see that little chimpanzee named Thingy-Mading with his teddy orange or whatever, and he's there and you're sad and you've got compassion. And then next thing, you're seeing the next TikTok trend and you've got cringe. And then you're going and now there's humor. And then you see these 2 kids, they got 3 bottles, and then they both bottle flip and they land and they're 5 bottles in a row and they're rejoicing. You're shocked. And then you're facing the next emotion and there's joy. And then the next one, you're happy again. And then sad again. And then we chop and change and swipe through emotions. And we scroll through emotions. Now, emotions are not just fictional. They're not just like some thought. They're actually chemical reactions happening in our brain. Emotions cause chemical releases in our brain. Now, sorry, my scroll is not working too well here. Biologically, our emotions are created when the brain processes sensory inputs and then constructs a reaction based on past experiences, triggering psychological changes throughout the body. And this process involves the limbic system, particularly the amygdala, emotional processing happens in the amygdala. It also is part of your hypothalamus. Did I say that right? Hypothalamus. I didn't take bio, so bodily regulation, releasing chemicals and neurotransmitters and stuff like that. It's complicated, but what I'm trying to get at is that scrolling through emotions is not just nothing. It's having an effect on our brains, all right? And it causes spikes in neurotransmitters. Are you still with me? Okay. You got to stick with me here. Please, please, please. Okay. Let me just scroll here. Now, these spikes in the neurotransmitters, they cause us to be completely overstimulated. And they leave our brains feeling kaput, emotionally drained, all right? There's no chance, and it leaves us with overstimulation, being emotionally drained. You know that feeling after a long scroll where you get there and you're just like, yo, I feel so good. That's the only word I can think of. You feel just terrible. You feel like yuck, and you don't feel good. That is your brain being so overwhelmed with the emotions, the different emotions, that it just does not know what to feel anymore. See, we give our brains no chance to process these emotions. No processing emotions equals bottling up of emotions. And since we don't give our brains time to process, we're left bottling it up until we stop coping. Luke, can you just, Jen, thank you. We bottle up until we can't cope, can't logically process, and we're left feeling anxious or depressed. Bottling often results in this anxiousness or this depressiveness. We need to stop and allow our brains to function, allow our brains to process the emotions that we've just faced. Every video is a new emotion, and if you're going through it, your brain doesn't have time to process it. I want to encourage you, stop and stare at a wall. I did it this afternoon. I stared at the garden. I sat there, and my mind just went, and that's so cool. I was thinking about Hartbeespoort Dam, and I was thinking about holiday, and I was thinking about this, thinking about this, thinking about this, all sorts of things, and I think about the dining room table, and it's in that corner, and if it's in that corner, that means that wall protrudes there, and because that, what's behind that wall? And that's my thought. But it's good because I'm allowing my brain to process emotions. Us, as the next generation, we move from one thing to the next, and we never give our brains time to think or to process. And we need to put things in moderation. We need to have our bodies submitted to ourselves and not give in to those impulses to pick up our phone and scroll through emotions. We need to figure this one out, people. 1 Corinthians 9 verse 27 says, I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. You should be in control of your body. You shouldn't have your body say, oh, I want to doom scroll because I got nothing to do. You should say, no, I'm going to lay that down. And like Paul, who wrote this, we have to take authority over our bodies and not give in to the bodily cravings that we have. Which brings me to my last and final point. The dangers of phones. So point number 1 was finding true connection, not in our phones. Point number 2 was doom scrolling and the negativity around that. And lastly, I'm going to tear through some dangers of the phones. So probably like the most prominent from the forefront of your minds is consuming lustful or inappropriate content. We all know this is bad. Matthew 5:28 says, anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery. Doom scrolling and wasting hours of your life. Ephesians 5:15-16 says, be very careful. Make the most of every opportunity. Filling your mind with negativity, comparison, or chaos. Philippians 4 verse 8 says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is pure, think about such things. Then, engaging in gossip, drama, or tearing others down. Ephesians 4:29 says, do not let unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. Seeking validation from people instead of God. Galatians 1:10 says, am I now trying to win approval from human beings or of God? And comparing your life to others. 2 Corinthians 10 verse 12 says, when they have measured themselves by themselves, they are not wise. And the last three is when you let your phone replace time with God. Matthew 6:33, but seek first the kingdom of God. Being constantly distracted and unable to be still. Psalms 46 verse 10 says, be still and know that I am God. An addiction, if there's an addiction to your phone itself or lack of self-control, 1 Corinthians 6 verse 12 says, I will not be mastered by anything. See, your phone is a tool. But if you're not careful, it will become your master. And we are called to have dominion and power over all things of the earth. Your phone cannot become your master. So, use your phone wisely. Ensure that it does not become an idol. Practice self-control. Get your parents or a trusted friend to set a screen time limit. All right? Those things are good. Danita has set screen time limits for me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And then she's got the pin. I don't know it. But then I can't go past 15 minutes on Instagram. And it blocks. Or whatever it is. 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. Do it. Get a trusted friend. I know Joshua Kajila, I saw you. Yeah. He loves X. He's an X man, all right? So he loves X. And he was scrolling too much. Eventually, I set a code for him there and to limit his X time. But let's do that for one another. Let's keep one another accountable. Get your parents or trusted friend to get content blocking applications installed. Caden, John, Curtin, please. We can't have this. No. We're not going to have it. Put God before your phone. Put him before your phone. Before you pick up your phone in the morning. I used to charge my phone in my parents' room. That was their rule for me and my brother. We had to go at 9 o'clock. We put our phones away, charge it up in their room. And then only the next morning could we go up and fetch our phones. Do things in moderation. Don't waste away your life. The life that God has blessed you with. Looking at pixels changing on a screen, because that's all it is. And seek to be righteous in all that you do on your phone. Ultimately, look to God to help you, and to lead you, and to guide you in all things related to your phone. The end. Thank you.